So we are now at regular session of the Board of Education meeting. We're going to take a roll call first.
Mr. Rick? Here. Mrs. Cassell?
Here.
Mrs. Shaw?
Here.
Mr. Markarian? Here. Mrs. Smarter?
Here.
Mrs. McGowan?
Here.
Mrs. Richmond?
Here.
Dr. Ford? Here. Mrs. McHugh?
Here.
Mrs. Wolford?
Here.
Mr. Side? Here. Madam President?
Thank you. I'd just like to draw your attention to the statement of public notice. We welcome input from the public. There are two spots in the meeting where you can come up to give us your comments. The first one is public comment on agenda items, and then later at the end of the meeting, there's public comment on non-agenda items if you want to speak on something that's not on the agenda tonight. When you talk to the microphone, make sure you put your name and address on the clipboard and tell us who you are. And I just wanted to point out that this meeting is being recorded. And you can read the rest of the statement of public notice on your own. We're up to item number 7, which most of you are here for, student recognition. So we are going to come down into the audience so that we can see all the students to be recognized tonight. Give us a moment.
Okay, good evening everybody and welcome to our meeting this evening. I just want to start by thanking all the staff and parents and the students that came out tonight. My name is Nick Markarian, I'm the superintendent, and I'm lucky enough to be here with you this evening to do something that's a lot of fun, which is to celebrate the successes of our staff and our students. We do this a few times during the year, and we've had a lot of awards and a lot of accomplishments by many of our both academic clubs and athletic teams and co-curricular groups. So we actually have quite a few students to recognize, as you can tell by looking around, which is absolutely wonderful news. So this is an exciting night. I'd like to get us started first. We're going to recognize the 2014 William N. Middle School baseball team, and here to recognize them tonight is Mrs. Zarabera and Mr. Sweeney. And I just want to welcome them as well, and to let you know that we have so many students tonight that we'll do our student recognition portion of the meeting, and then we'll do a quick pause for any of those students that are dying to get home and work on that homework and studying tonight.
Thank you. I just want to thank the Board of Ed and Mr. Markarian for hosting us tonight. And I especially want to thank Mrs. Huda for her continued support of athletics at William N. Middle School. Just for those of you that don't know, we have a nonprofit organization at William N. We just finished our 9th year of running an athletic program there, which we're very proud of. We've had a few league championships over the years. Baseball is one that's actually has a repeat. And Coach Sweeney has been our coach for 3 years now. The first year, he brought the team to the league championship and they lost by 1 run. Last year, they won the league championship, and that was in the Greater Morris County league that we participated in. So this year, we decided to move to a more difficult league and play Skylands Conference teams so that all of our athletes would have a better feel for what competition would be like in high school. And the team did very well again this year. They blew through the regular season, got the #1 seed for playoffs, had a fine first round, then they beat Montgomery, and then they played Branchburg in the final and they won 3-1. So congratulations to our team. That is my name. When I call you boys, if you could just come down and come up front. James Crowley, Nick Giacchi, Brian Gogarty, Patrick Heffernan, Louis Lafakis, David Labby, stay here, Andrew Lasardi, Justin Pavlik, Brandon Radice, Joe Ruggiero, Nick San Foster, Sean Spina, Jason Steinberg, John Stikes, and Devin Stiglitz. I also just want to briefly recognize, besides Coach Sweeney, who's a Basking Ridge resident, our assistant coach was his son, Vinny Sweeney, who was a former Ridge High School baseball player, and the Ridge team won the state championship. He's studying for the bar exam tonight, so. And we have a league trophy that gets passed from school to school in the league. So the trophy had been missing. Montgomery had it from last year. So unfortunately, the boys did not get to see a trophy or have a presentation when they played their last game. So that's why I brought it tonight. And I want to say officially congratulations. We're very proud.
Congratulations, guys. Great job. You can see that the competition is going to be tough for the high school coaches, fighting over the size of these kids. There's Mrs. Erica. Thank you for that story about the Montgomery superintendent losing the trophy. I'll be sure to follow that one. Okay, next up we have Mr. Bill Cook, who is here to present the Eisenhower Award for us.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Robin McKeon and for Ed for having me here tonight, and Nick Marcari, our superintendent. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Bill Cook. I'm a resident of Basking Ridge. I'm a 1967 graduate of the United States Military Academy at West Point. I'm here today representing the West Point Society of New Jersey, an organization of graduates and friends of West Point who live in New Jersey. Every year we sponsor the Dwight D. Eisenhower Leadership Award at about 100 schools throughout the state. The purpose of the award is to recognize an exceptional high school junior who demonstrates outstanding performance in the areas of academics, athletics, community service, good citizenship, and leadership. The awardee is selected by the school principal and staff. The award includes an engraved plaque for the student and a display plaque for the school. This will be the first Eisenhower Award presented to a Ridge student. This year's awardee is Victor J. Castagna. A couple things in Victor's resume. He was a Peer Leadership Award winner both for this year and last year. He's been accepted to attend Boys State. That'll be this summer. He's received the Community Service Award for performing over 400 hours of service, primarily in the area of special needs. And in that area, he's received individual recognition for using baseball. Victor's also a member of the varsity wrestling team and is lettered there. And he's a member of the National Honor Society. And his plaque reads, the West Point Society of New Jersey, Dwight D. Eisenhower Leadership Award, recognition for outstanding character and leadership. 2014, Victor J. Castagna, Ridge High School.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Congratulations, Victor. Okay, moving right along. This time we have Sergeant Mark Rivera, who is here to recognize some students for various United States Marine Corps awards. Come on over, Mr. Rivera.
How's everyone doing tonight? Good, I hope, right? It's going to be kind of hard to follow Mr. Cook, but I guess I'll do my best. First thing I want to do is actually thank everybody in the administration, along with Ms. Merriview, for actually having me here tonight. This is the first time, probably in Marine Corps history, that I can actually award these awards to the Bridge High School recipients, and it's just an honor and privilege to actually be here. Myself, I joined the Marine Corps in 2009. Originally from Newark, New Jersey. By trade, I'm a field radio operator along with reconnaissance. So I can see both sides of the house from a technical skill job in the Corps, as well as infantry. And I spent 3 years in 3rd Recon Battalion over in Okinawa, Japan. Went through 2 deployments to Afghanistan, and here I am today. So for over 230 years, the Marine Corps has had such a prestigious recognition throughout the whole world, and everybody has one plain sight of the Marine Corps and the good things that we do. But to take a step aside and look at the bigger picture, there are many things that the Marine Corps likes to acknowledge, such as these awards that are being given out here tonight. The best thing about the Marine Corps is not only the little things that we do out here in the real world, but the little things that we do. It starts with students just like these. And like I said, I'm very honored to award these awards tonight. And the first thing I'd like to hand out is the Distinguished Athlete Award. We have 2 recipients, Alexander Schreier. Christina Mueller. Scholastic Excellence Award, Christine Wang. The Semper Fidelis Award for Musical Excellence, award to Patrick Clark. Again, this is just some of the little things that the Marine Corps likes to do for the community, and you'll be seeing my face around a lot as I take over as the Marine recruiter for Ridge High School. And again, everybody, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Okay, we're going to shift gears a little bit here and invite Mr. Dan Zagali to come up and recognize any of our musicians. Mr. Zagali. Assisting Mr. Zagali is Michael Bagelman, our Director of Fine and Practical Arts.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to stand before you tonight to talk about our music students, and particularly the band students. When I look at the list of awards that our students have achieved this year, it really is quite amazing. Mr. Zagao in his time, the short time that he's been here, has really taken the band program to extraordinary new levels, and we're very proud of his accomplishments, and certainly for yours in sitting in the audience. We had a student accepted to all national concert band, all national. That's quite a big deal in our world of music and band. Mr. Zagao, what's the percentage? Top 1%?
Something like that, yeah.
It's, to make that achievement, it goes beyond anything that we can say. So without further ado, Kevin Liu. Kevin's on practicing. All-state recognition is a big deal for any of our students, from the athletic field, certainly, and into the arts. Making all-state wind ensemble, Kevin Liu, who we all know is home practicing, and also Kristen Park. Accepted to All-State Symphonic Band, Li Xiao Zhang and Edward Park. We explore all idioms of music, so for jazz band, All-State Jazz Band, Brian Will. We have an extraordinary young lady who has just recently performed with our high school orchestra last week, who auditioned and was accepted and won a competition at the West Point Band Young Arts concert. She's going into the Navy, but she still won the West Point concert. She didn't tell you. So, extraordinary. Sarah Finney. Sarah's mom is here. Our band, our wind ensemble, had an opportunity to compete in regional and statewide activities this year, and the culminating event is the All-State Band Gala. I can tell you from sitting in the audience with my administrative peers, with superintendents from other districts, to view our performance, our group's performance at the gala was extraordinary. It is the top 12 bands in the state are featured in a concert. It is so exciting to be recognized as a band, again, in our world. For our director to be welcomed to this fraternity of directors, many of which have been there for years after year, breaking into this area with our group is certainly extraordinary. There were approximately 150 bands that compete throughout the year, throughout the state. We are in the top 12, and in our area, in our region, we're actually in the top 2. So that's an extraordinary accomplishment for all of you who took part. Because there are so many names, Mr. Aziz can read out the names, not hand out certificates.
Some of these folks are home practicing too, so we'll get this quick. Jack Becker. Patrick Clark. Jeffrey Sherman. Emma DeWill. Julia Fackelman. Yeah, you can wait till the end. Emily Fitzgerald. Alec Friedman. Brenda Gurumurthy. Renee Hastings. Paul Hoffman, Luke Hahn, Lizzo Jang, Kathy Jin, Andrew Jostling, Bianca Jerowitz, Josh Kluger, Rowan Lambie, Millie Langston, So Young Lee, Jenny Lee, Dana Lee, Dylan Lee, Kevin Liu, Eric Liu, Michelle Liu, Jimmy Martinson, Sam Panicia, Sean Park, Eddie Park, Kristen Park, Sarah Finney, Adele Salam, Ron Shantani, Deep Kanshu Singhvi, Oliver Tang, Colin Walkenfeld, Brian Weil, Wei Wen, Kevin Wu, Jonathan Shia, Jasmine Shia, Kevin Yang, Elena Yang, and Justin Yuan. John McGowan, Emily York, Evan Zhang, Ben Zhao, Jeff Zhao, and Andy Zhang. Recognize this band here and to support us. It's been a great year and really proud of all the things we've accomplished together. Thank you all.
Congratulations, guys. It's a great accomplishment. I know it's a lot of hard work. How many of you guys remember being up on this stage? And you're back for certificates. Congratulations, guys.
Our final students recognized in music would be for the 2014 Region 2 Orchestra. Members of this group auditioned amongst hundreds of their peers in the state, and it's extraordinary with the amount of students that are only selected. For instance, a violinist, there could be about 140 violinists that audition. They take perhaps 20, 22. We have students that are all in the top ranks, and we're very proud of that. So would the following students please come forward. Catherine Chen, Lucy Choi, Yoon Kang, Elaine Liu, and Lily Usai.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Stremski up to honor the 13-14 grade forensics team.
Thank you, everybody. The Bridge Forensics team had a phenomenal year this year. It's one of those years that you try to think about what should be the next step, and the students continue to come back tournament after tournament and really demonstrate an unbelievable ability at the local, the regional, and the national level. In particular, this year's team boasted a first place team award at the Yale University Invitational, the Harvard National Congress, the New York City Invitational, which is one of the largest tournaments on the entire East Coast. The Tournament of Champions, we won the third place team award there just a couple weeks ago at the NCFL Grand National Tournament. We were named one of the top 5 teams out of the 600 attending. And a group of students also are going to be attending the National Speech and Debate Association Tournament in Kansas City next week. With the NCFL, with the TOC, with the NSDA tournaments, we have a record number of rich students that have qualified for these events. So much so that this year we have 18 students attending the National Speech and Debate Championships. That beats the previous record of 12. And with a state like New Jersey, which is extraordinarily competitive, that's a true honor for them. So tonight, we are recognizing 4 particular accomplishments. First is qualification and attendance at the Tournament of Champions at the University of Kentucky. It's a very prestigious debate event tournament. Secondly is the most recent 2014 NCFL Grand National Tournament, which was held in Chicago. We're also recognizing those NSDA qualifiers as well as state champions. So as I call the students up, I will announce those acronyms in some semblance of order. I'm also going to ask for help from our brand new president for the 2014-2015 Rich Forensics year, Avi Mahagakar, who's going to come up and help us. And you may have heard a little bit before, but it's actually mine. You may have heard a little bit of it before, but at forensics tournaments, when we have to announce a lot of names in sequential order, we acknowledge them with one big clap. So when I announce the qualification and the name, everybody in the room can give one big clap for that individual. So we're going to try it first. President Avni Mahagakar. Perfect. So, as we start, NSDA, Anudeep Akinapali. NSDA State Champion and NCFL Qualifier, Paikin Palaji. NSDA Qualifier, Kim Castillo. The Triple Crown +1, Tournament of Champions, NSDA, NCFL, and the State Champion, Michael Servino. NSDA and NCFL, AJ D'Ambrosio. NCFL and TOC, Davis George. NSDA, Claire Halsey. NCFL, Matt Hansen. NCFL, Sam Hoffman. Essentially, he's attending his college orientation at the University of Texas at Austin, where he'll be competing in collegiate forensics. NCFL, Darius Hunt. State champion in novice Lincoln Douglas debate, Vikram Kalgati. NCFL and NSDA, Mr. Sean Kant. NCFL, Mr. Nikhil Kapadia. NSDA, Ray Nakaria. TOC and NCFL, Kate Kynan. State champion in novice Lincoln Douglas debate, Shankar Krishnan. NCFL, Ms. Ananda Luthi. NCFL, Ms. Nidhi Mahagakar. NCFL and the NSDA, Sanjay Malhotra. NCFL, TOC, and NSDA, Mr. Trey Misra. NCFL and NSDA and TOC, Mr. Connor Murphy. NCFL, TOC, and NSDA, Tim O'Shea. NCFL, Mr. Alec Pan. NCFL and TOC, Ms. Asif Khan. NCFL, Rishab Chapuri. NSDA, Sabina Razak. NCFL, Caitlin Schiffer. NSDA, NCFL, and the state champion, Ms. Gabby Schnell. NCFL, Mr. Rhonda Shahani. TOC and the NSDA, Ms. Allison Shin. NCFL, TOC and the NSDA, Deep Singh. TOC and the NCFL, Saloni Singh. Also recognized an abstention from the NCFL, Caitlin Smalling. NCFL, Oliver Tang. NCFL, Timothy Tang. Also an abstention, NCFL, Ryan Titus. NCFL and the TOC, Mr. Danny Van Ness. An abstention, NCFL, Anki Wadwa. NCFL and TOC, Mr. Jack Wilson. At choir practice tonight, in preparation for a concert this week, she'll attend. Emily Wu from NCFL and NSDA. Jasmine Sheen, NCFL. NCFL and TOC, Mr. Kevin Yang. And NSDA and NCFL qualifier, Ms. Amy Zong. Thank the board, the administration, the board administration, the district administration, Mr. Howlett, and the assistant principals at Ridge High School. Special nod, because I always forget to say her name every year, but Susan Morrow, who does a wonderful job of putting all of this together. And of course, all the parents in the audience who are here constantly supporting the team, whether it's judges, concessions, and all of your wonderful sacrifices that make so these students can achieve success at the national level. I thank you, the students thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Yastrzemski. I was warm before, now I'm really sweating. Okay, shifting gears again a little bit, we're going to ask our athletic director, Mr. Rich Shello, to come up. and he's going to lead some awards for a couple of our high school teams with coaches.
Thank you, Ms. Markarian, and thank you to the Board of Education as well for giving us the opportunity to recognize our students, and congratulations to all the students that have been recognized and will be recognized tonight. It's just an outstanding achievement on the parts of kids from every walk of life. It's just wonderful to see. We've been very blessed over many years, but this year in particular, we've had some just wonderful teams that have competed against some of the best competition in the state. I'm going to bring my girls golf coaches up now, Siobhan Devlin and Rebecca Mirabue. If anybody's ever played golf, it's a very trying and challenging game, and these ladies have led a team not only that has won one state championship, but they've won each of the last 4 in the state of New Jersey. So a tremendous amount.
Well, congratulations to everybody receiving awards tonight. Ridge High School is really a special place to be, and on behalf of Girls Golf, we want to give everybody their props, because we know the rigors of just going through the school day, never mind all the extracurricular stuff, so congratulations. And this year was, for girls golf, was particularly rewarding because we lost half of our tournament team to graduation last year, and everybody thought that we wouldn't be back, but the group of girls that I'm going to be calling up tonight define what a student athlete is. They're amazing in the classroom, and they take their sport very, very seriously. They commit to the team, and they dedicate themselves throughout the year to being the best that they can be. And then to go through the year, starting off a little bit slowly with losing 2 matches, they persevered, very resilient, and came back even stronger. And by the Tournament of Champions on May 22nd, they broke a state record, shooting the lowest score ever in the history of girls golf. They are the real deal. They're a really, really special group, and it is a privilege to be associated with them. And additionally, we want to thank everybody, administration, parents, and staff for supporting us through this journey. So without further ado, I'd like to call up Carolyn Wang, who will be back next year. She's a freshman. Carolyn was part of the Tournament of Champions team, and she also had the lowest average among all golfers on the team. Representing the sophomore class, receiving letters is Karen McDermott and Anna Walsh. And then I'll call the junior class up, because the very first time I met them, I called them the awesome foursome, and that's exactly what they are. And they're all, you think of one, you think of all of them, and they'll all be back next year, all part of the Tournament of Championship team, and our captains for next year. And that's Carly Coppola, Monica Schumacher, and Christine Lang. Certainly not least, our seniors, who were the glue this year, who kept us together, extremely unselfish and supportive of all their teammates, and that is Bianca Chung, who will be continuing at Drexel. Who is working her way down to William and Mary. And Wendy Walsh, our captain, who will be going to Villanova. Congratulations.
Thank you, Coach Devlin, and girls, congratulations. And it really is incredible when you think that 4 years ago they won their first and a turnover in that program, and they come back every year and defend their title. It's an amazing thing to see, and really unprecedented in New Jersey. Next, we have another athletic program we're very proud of, and that's our boys lacrosse team, who again has had a very, very strong season. They had a couple losses during the season to some teams in our Somerset County area, and had an opportunity to get paybacks during the Somerset County tournament by defeating Pingree and then Immaculata in the Somerset County Championship game. So I'd like to bring head coach Ken Marsh down to recognize and introduce.
Thank you, Rich. Thank the board and the administration for having us here tonight. It's the second year in a row we've had this opportunity to come here. And it's quite an honor to look back. I want to congratulate everybody that has received an award, all the parents for everything that your children have done. This district is remarkable, and just to see how diverse we are in athletics, forensics, and everything else. It's pretty amazing. We did have a very good lacrosse season this past year. We graduated a lot of seniors last year, and we had to kind of replace a lot of people, but we had a lot of younger people come in, make their contributions, and we were fortunate enough to win back-to-back Somerset County lacrosse titles this past year. So I will call up the gentleman here. I know there's a lot of summer commitments, and we will try to get them up here. Those are with us. We have Jack Becker. Daniele Colbertano. David O'Connor. These are all our seniors. Eric Dorr. He's here for Chris Gatos. His brother's not here as well, Alex. Seniors Charlie Hill. Honor Lau is here. Two of our other captains, unfortunately, did not make it tonight. They were recognized as All-Americans in the state of New Jersey. We, as a Coaches Association, choose that, so it's quite an honor. It's not coming out of the newspapers. Owen was actually selected as the best goalie in New Jersey this past year. We'll go play a better game next year. Not with us too much. JT Palladino is another All-American. He's going to be attending Harvard next year. He's a two-time All-American for our program. Connor Stevens. Brian Thomas. Here, Ratchet Burn. Also, Judy's Angel Alvarez. John Cassidy. Tristan Conway. David Mark. Gavin Kirk. Tim Knight. Ethan Nye. Michael O'Brien. Sean Sweeney. Mike Tufariello. Ryan Walsh. Don't have the rest of them up here, but we have some sophomores up there. We have Rich McKenna. Brandon Quigley. Kevin Quigley. we look forward to next season. Hopefully we can come back and visit you again. Thank you.
Also, just a quick shout out, we had two other teams not here tonight because they have their postseason awards dinners this evening. Our girls lacrosse team also won the Somerset County tournament and a state section tournament. And we have multiple track and field individuals that won county and section champions and group championships as well. So quite proud of their successes as well as those that we've already heard from tonight. So thank you.
Okay, I want to thank all of our parents and students for coming out for our student recognition portion of our agenda. Of course, you are more than welcome to stay as we move into the superintendent's report part of the agenda, but I understand if you have things to do, and we'll give you a minute to make your way to that work. Thanks again, everybody, for coming out today. Congratulations to everybody. Okay, so moving into the superintendent's report portion of our agenda, I have with me Robin McKeon, our board president, and at this time we're going to recognize our 2013-14 school year retirees with a gift from the board and some words from their administrators. And we'll honor all of those folks that were able to attend this evening, and for those that were unable to, we will be mailing them their retirement gift. So starting out, I'm going to represent Liberty Corner School and speak a little bit about Marianne Batacola. Was Marianne able to join us tonight? She was scheduled to. Okay. Well, we'll forego that then. Sorry that Marianne couldn't apparently join us tonight. I thought she was coming. Sandy Russo is also here this evening. Come on up, Sandy. Congratulations. Okay, so I'd like to share a few words about Sandy. Mrs. Russo began her teaching career in Berners Township in September of 1993. And when one thinks about the dedication and commitment it takes to be a truly outstanding teacher, Sandy Russo comes to mind. Sandy epitomizes all the reasons why many of us enter the educational profession, but she's much more. And these words, by the way, are from her principal, Kathy Pecoraro. Kathy wrote, "I've always been immensely impressed by Sandy's commitment to becoming the best teacher she could be. Sandy has never reached the point where she stopped learning about her profession or thought she knew all she needed to learn. Sandy was the consummate student herself, always thirsting for better and more effective ways to teach her students. Although always concerned about imparting academic knowledge to her students, her main concern was helping her students become individuals of character who demonstrated self-control, self-discipline, and responsibility for self in their own individual learning. We will certainly miss Sandy's wisdom and her clear-headed reasonable approaches to teaching. But most of all, we'll miss her friendship and her wisdom as an individual and a teacher. We wish Sandy all the best, a happy and healthy retirement can offer, and lots of special times making memories with her grandchildren. So congratulations, Sandy. Okay. At this time, I'd like to invite our high school principal, Mr. Frank Howlett, to the podium to recognize the retirees from Ridge High School. Mr. Howlett.
Welcome, thank you. Connie Elliott here with us today. There's Connie, come on down. Connie Elliott began her career with Berners Township Public Schools 11 years ago and has been teaching for 26 years. She has taught also in California and Colorado, primarily in the area of secondary language arts, but also in social studies, math, instrumental music, and vocal music, and also I believe some preschool, correct? Connie notes, of use on numerous moments in high school teaching have been skills developed teaching preschool. Mrs. Elliott was drawn to the Berners Township by opening an AP literature course which has energized her for 20 years. She has also instructed literary experience. Connie has been a member of the Intervention and Referral Team, Faculty Advisory Council, and the Advisor for Habitat for Humanity. Connie earned a BA in History with a minor in Sociology about 100 years ago. Her words, at the University of California, San Diego. She completed her 5th year, required for teacher certification at that time in California at USIU, San Diego, California, and now called Alliant International University. She has completed additional coursework in linguistics, a variety of cross-curricular concerns, and English in courses from University of North Dakota, University of Colorado, University of Northern Colorado, and Drew University. Mrs. Illian, when asked about her most memorable experience at RHS, exclaims, I love teaching. You know, the parts that no one loves, including me, but I enjoy the literature and I am able to teach at the high school level, the intellectual exchange that happens in my classes, and the honing of student skills in preparation for college thinking and writing. And imagine participating in discussions of the best of literature and thought with students who will in months be studying at the finest universities in the country and beyond. It is a rare privilege. I work hard to fulfill my obligations to each student in my classes to give them the skills they need to effectively analyze what they hear or read and then express that analysis clear and maturely in speech and writing. When working to identify and strengthen areas of weakness, I seek to reflect back to each student and the best of what I see in each of them. Teaching affords daily opportunities and a meaningful connection to other human beings who need to know who they are and what they are capable of. This is especially true of high school teaching. Teaching at Ridge has allowed me the privilege of doing this in a league with other highly skilled and equally committed educators. All of this and more is what I will miss as I retire, and I am also thankful for my years at Ridge. Upon retirement, Connie and her husband are heading back to California, where they will travel extensively to visit family in Colorado, Ohio, and the Honduras. Connie, we wish you the best. Terry Capel, come on down. Mrs. Teresa Terry Capel earned her bachelor's degree from William Patterson University 34 years ago and began teaching at a private special education school. 5 years later, she joined the staff at Ridge High School as a special education teacher. During these last 29 years, Terry has taken on many responsibilities both in and out of the classroom. She has taught a total of 5 different math courses as both the lead teacher and as an inclusion teacher. She was also responsible for co-writing and developing the Advanced Algebra and Discrete Math course. Additionally, Mrs. Capel has been the Key Club Advisor, Prom Advisor, a job she just recently relinquished, Marching Band Front Advisor, Student Mentoring Program Survivor, or Supervisor, whichever came. Marching Band Advisor, Cheerlead Advisor, and the BTEA Building Rep. She says during my first or second year at Ridge, the teachers went on strike and my picture with a picket sign was taken on the cover of the Courier News. You were not tenured? In the early years, she remembers in the early years gathering with the teachers in the building each morning before school to share life stories and get to know each other. Also meeting with all the wonderful teachers in the other buildings in Berners Township through extracurricular activities. She was particularly proud to be asked to be the godmother to the daughter of a former Ridge graduate who was a student of hers. She states, a former student of mine and a Ridge graduate came back a few years after he graduated to tell me if I didn't make him learn fractions, he would never be the successful carpenter he is today. She remembers taking the cheerleaders to perform at halftime of the Nets basketball game in the Meadowlands Arena. She remembers being named Teacher of the Year of the Month for October in 1994. She remembers for having 16 years of very successful senior, junior proms, and senior proms. She remembers researching at Rutgers and in North Carolina, sponsored by Ohio State University, to help the development of curriculum writing for the Advanced Algebra and Discrete Math course, still in the program of studies for Ridge juniors and seniors today. Terry's plans after retirement include enjoying this summer with her retired husband, taking care of her mom whenever she needs us, and attending the Yankees spring training in March for the first time because now I finally can. She also plans on taking steps towards becoming a volleyball official and enjoying life with her husband. Terry, we wish you the best. Preston, are you here, Merle? There she is. I get to speak a lot about Merle this year. She was Teacher of the Year, so we did that not too long ago. This is Merle Preston. She joined the Berners Township Schools as a school psychologist 17 years ago. Prior to that, she had spent 5 years as a special education art teacher and taught all subjects at a private special education school for 6 years, and served as a school psychologist for 13 years with the South Orange Maplewood School District. Merle is completing her 43rd year as an educator. That's lovely. Mrs. Preston earned her Bachelor of Arts from the College of William & Mary and her Master's of Arts and a professional degree from Kane University. Mrs. Preston states, throughout my career I have strived to foster an inclusive and genuinely caring academic community where the strengths of all members are recognized and valued as they work together towards reaching a shared goal. A highlight in Berners Township has been coordinating the mentoring program at Ridge High School for special education students who are struggling with academic, social, emotional, and behavioral problems. In its 19th year, this program continues to allow for dedicated teachers to help students overcome significant challenges in their lives, assisting them to become appreciated members of their school community. It truly has been an honor to work in Berners Township with an amazing staff and members of a highly supportive community, with fantastic parents and students. I have positive memories too numerous to relate. I leave with a thankful heart for all of those who have touched my life in so many ways. I am especially thankful to the students with whom I have worked as they are all most precious to me. Upon retirement in all states, I will reset my alarm clock from 5:15 to 7:30, spend time with family and friends, gardening, spend time in the Outer Banks in North Carolina, and volunteer work. We're going to miss you, Mom. Now, next week.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hallett. At this time, I would ask Mrs. Hudak and Ms. Vitale to come on up. They are going to recognize some of our retirees from the men.
Thank you, Mr. Markarian. We're going to start off by recognizing Elaine Porak. Elaine, come on up. Elaine graduated from Montclair State College with a degree in business education. She secured her first job as a business education teacher in the Edison School District. There, she taught typing and shorthand to career-oriented students. Elaine met and married her husband 2 years after graduating from college. Her husband was transferred to Texas, and her family spent many years moving around the country for Steve's job until they finally settled, lucky for us, in Basking Ridge in 1991. At this point, Elaine's 2 children were enrolled in school full-time, and she was ready to return to education. She started as a substitute in our district for 2.5 years prior to securing her full-time media assistant position at WAMS in 1995. As Elaine will tell you, many things have changed at WAMS since her hiring 19 years ago. The typing and shorthand skills which she had mastered have now morphed into a common term called keyboarding. The population of the building has more than tripled as students and staff are continuing to grow. The Media Center was moved to its newest location. It used to be in the Chorus Guidance Suite, and now we have a beautiful new addition. For those of us who know Elaine, we know that she is a taskmaster. She is never one to shy away from learning a new skill set and often would seek out opportunities independently. She was quick to offer suggestions on ways to improve student and staff services that we delivered in our media center, and she was ready to offer her help and support in whatever she could do. Elaine is the eyes of the media center. She knows all of the ongoings, whether it's the teachers, the students, the computers, the technology, those that work and those that don't, the copiers, the machines, the so-ons, and the so forths. One of Elaine's most precious gifts is her ability to listen and care for individuals. She often takes time out of her busy day to stop and chat with colleagues about life outside of WAMS. How was your weekend? How are the kids? How are you doing? When I was an assistant principal, Elaine and I would have many early morning conversations over newspapers and teacher coverages. Elaine would walk into the office doors from getting the daily newspaper as I was busy feverishly working on teacher coverages for that day. She would always stop and acknowledge that difficult task, and then she would quickly ask about my husband or children. Elaine, that simple gesture to take an interest in life outside of school meant so much to me. Elaine, you are a woman of great integrity and respect, who you have meant so much to me and to this school. You took a vested interest in people's lives outside of the school, and you will never be forgotten. Elaine, I wish you the best as you begin your retirement and enjoy those beautiful grandchildren and spending time with your family. Best of luck. And I'm going to ask Lisa Vitale to join me for our next retiree, Diane Gracie. Please come forward. Double whammy. Diane Gracie has dedicated the last 28 years of her life to her passion, which is teaching reading. Diane earned her bachelor's degree in K-8 elementary education with a reading certification from Kane University. She then went on to earn her master's of education from Rutgers University as a special education teacher and reading specialist. In her quest to be able to effectively teach the struggling reader, Diane enrolled herself into the Wilson Orton Gillingham program and earned her Wilson certification. We are not always blessed to have Diane as a member of the William Annan staff. She began her career in Clinton School District and then quickly transferred to Glenn Gardner School. She took time off to raise 3 beautiful children who she adores. As her children became school age, Diane's love and passion for reading brought her to Bernards Township, where she has been working as a multisensory reading teacher for the past 20 years. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Wilson program, it is a complete curriculum for teaching decoding and encoding, beginning with an emphasis on word structure and sounds. It has a very specific set of 10 lessons that must be followed exactly to ensure that students are not only able to read unfamiliar words, but also understand those words in the context of reading. So Diane, as you begin your retirement, I have created a list of steps for you to follow in the exact order so that you can achieve your ultimate mastery of your retirement. And those steps are as follows. On the night of June 22nd, turn off your alarm clock for good. Transform your morning rush hour routine into a hot cup of coffee carried between your kitchen, table, and deck. WD-40 those wheels on your pull-behind bag, as it will now be filled with travel essentials, not educational essential questions. Schedule long weekends at the shore house and remain dockside as long as you can. Continue your passion for reading by sharing your love and knowledge with your grandson, Jaden. Create a bucket list of things that you want to accomplish with your husband, Alan, right alongside of you. Create new acronyms that are meaningful to you and forget those old ones, SGO, SGP, PART, so on and so forth. In September, prepare for your new year, filled with relaxation and an exotic trip to Italy. Read a pleasure book monthly from start to finish. Enjoy Goats to Rome anytime you can, and visit your daughter Lauren in Vermont as often as you want, as I am sure, as a teacher herself, she could not ask for a better mentor than you. And the last and final lesson for your retired. While doing all the above, never forget the impact that you have had on the children and staff at WAMS. For what we leave behind is a legacy of individuals who, because of you, have acquired the most fundamental life skill for their success, which is reading. At this point, I'm going to turn over to Ms. Python.
Diane and I share a very special bond. We both love teaching students to read. Diane is a wealth of knowledge in terms of providing instruction to students in the area of decoding, fluency, vocabulary, encoding, and comprehension. Students always leave their class knowing how to divide syllables, identify syllable types, read with accuracy, use the context of a sentence to determine a word's meaning, and visualize and verbalize from a chapter of literature that they're reading, as well as be able to record and reference those all on clearly formatted graphic organizers or lots of Post-it notes. The students and parents, the gen ed and special ed teachers at William Annan, and especially myself, have all benefited tremendously from your dedication, passion, and energy as a special education teacher at WAMS. I will miss you greatly, since you are one of the few people that I can talk about reading instruction as long and as much as I can with you. I know we do, which is my next thing. Our pre-conferences and post-conferences never fell within the span of one period, but rather a bare minimum of probably 2 hours, if luck. Best of luck on the next journey of teaching your grandson to read. I wish you all the best. Come on up, Nancy. Nancy Reed. So Nancy Rayner is an LDTC at Oak Street and Cedar Hill. So she started off growing up in Roselle, And interesting, as an LGTC, one of the things that you need to do frequently is handle anything that gets thrown your way. So Nancy, during her high school years, was a twirler to prepare herself for this LDTC job in Basking Ridge. In 1975, she celebrated with New York State College, graduating as she earned her bachelor's degree in elementary ed and also library science. For a few summers, Nancy volunteered at a camp in Union, and it was a special ed program where she learned her talents and her dedication with the special education population. She then worked for a bank for about 2 years while she pursued her master's degree. She received her master's degree in teacher for the emotionally disturbed and socially maladjusted and a special education teacher. Because any certification in special ed has to at least have 5 to 6 acronyms after it. This one is interesting. For 2 years, she worked as a teacher aide at Westlake School, and she earned $1.81 per hour. She then was hired from 1979 to 1981 for 1.5 years as a teacher assistant, earning $8,000 a year. Good job. She then moved to be a longtime sub at Roselle, where her principal was actually her 3rd grade teacher. And since he or she felt so good about what they had taught her, they hired her for a special education position. At that time, it was a perceptual impaired class. She taught at Roselle for about 11 years, and then she went back to get her degree for the LDTC, which is a learning consultant from Cambridge University. She started off LDTC at New Brunswick. Then during an interview in 2002, she was hired by Bernards Township, unanimously through the group that interviewed you, called you right back immediately. Didn't want to see anybody else except Nancy, just get her, we'll be fine. She then started her career, and she's been at Oak Street since 2002, working between Oak Street and Cedar Hill. For her retirement, she plans to volunteer more at the animal shelter, which is a true passion of Nancy's. She also hopes to work some part-time hours at the public library. I'm sure you're still going to be buying jewelry and QVC and all that fun stuff too. We wish you the best of luck. You have made a tremendous impact on the students, the teachers, and myself. Nancy, when I first started, before I was the supervisor, I was a teacher at Oak Street, and Nancy was the LDTC that I worked with. And coming from New York, I had no idea what LDTC meant, but pretty much what it meant was my job got a lot easier because I didn't have to do the other reviews, I didn't have to make the meetings, I didn't have to run the reports, I didn't have to do the testing. That was Nancy. You are a collaborator, the staff, myself, and the special ed department. Thank you for your time, your years, and most of all, we will miss you greatly. Thank you, Nancy.
Okay, last but not least, we have a retiree from Cedar Hill School that Mr. Malika is going to come and speak about.
Good evening, everyone. It's an honor to recognize Mrs. Karen Zukowski for her teaching career of 37 years, 31 of which have taken place here in our Bernards Township Public Schools in the area of speech therapy. In the late summer of 1983, Karen answered an ad for a speech therapist position in our school district. There were signs that our special needs population was growing and that there was a significant number of children who were having difficulty with their speech. As you know, delays in speech and problem speaking often become a social and emotional nightmare for children and adolescents. For young people, nothing quite diminishes good self-esteem and one's social acceptance like the inability to speak, articulation problems, poor vocal quality, or stuttering and stumbling over one's words. Research has shown that it is oftentimes very hard for children to apply their natural talents when they are aware of their deficiencies in speech. Unfortunately, confidence and motivation are stymied as the student understandably worries about embarrassment or even worse, ridicule from classmates. Over the years, we have noticed that between 7 to 10% of our students demonstrate some type of speech problem that our school takes on the responsibility to address. Karen Zukowski has devoted her entire career to that 7 to 10% who struggle with speaking. In quiet corners and small classrooms, over the last 37 years, Mrs. Zukowski has welcomed small groups of children for the purpose of turning things around for them and giving them a chance to blossom. For those of us who have worked closely with Karen over the years, it has been a joy to see the way students were willing to leave their classrooms for a while to see their special teacher whom they knew would help them with their speech. As you may know, becoming an effective speech therapist is no easy task. It requires a master's degree in speech pathology, coupled with a flexible personal demeanor and a level of patience that few people possess. It's no wonder that there is a significant shortage of speech therapists in schools throughout our country. Fortunately for us, Karen Zukowski made that commitment to this special field, and she has kept that commitment to her unique line of work for the last 37 years. Mrs. Zukowski holds a master's degree in speech pathology from Loyola College of Maryland, and she attributes a lot of her success in Bernard's to those early years of being on the staff of the Baltimore City public school system. Working in a big city enabled Karen to gain valuable experience. She had to respond to a wide range of student needs, cross-check strategies with experienced therapists on staff, and learn to cope with the demands of a large city caseload of students. When Karen returned to New Jersey in 1983, she married her college sweetheart, Wayne, and began to look for a new job. In fact, it was only 5 days after her wedding in '83 that Karen was recommended by a former director of special services in our district to fill a new position of speech therapist and report to Oak Street School as soon as possible. Karen worked only at Oak Street School from 1983 to 1988. As some of you may recall, Cedar Hill School was closed in the late 80s due to the shrinking student population in Bernards Township. There was actually some discussion about selling the Cedar Hill building. Fortunately, our Board of Education saw an on-the-mark vision of growth as the future of Bernards, with all its undeveloped land and its ever-growing reputation as a great public school system. Cedar Hill reopened in 1988. In a few years, it had a student population of over 750. And not long afterward, Mount Prospect School opened as well. Karen soon found herself working at Oak Street, Cedar Hill, and on certain days also William Manning and Ridge High School. She did an excellent job of covering many bases, adapting to the wide range of needs and age levels of her students, and handling the challenge of being a traveling teacher. In 1996, Karen was happy to learn that our district decided to hire more speech therapists to respond to all of our growth. The addition of Susan Lieb, Melanie Hospedler, and Kelly Paprocki not only meant additional help, but also lifelong friendships which added much fulfillment to her professional life. Those of us who've had the privilege to work with Karen know how hard it is to not only diagnose and evaluate speech and communication problems, but also to develop and implement corrective action plans. We all have great respect for the special way that she has intertwined her knowledge of linguistics, anatomy, and phonetics with psychology, human development, and motivation. Karen, thank you for all your good works on behalf of your students. Thank you also for all your years of service on the Cedar Hill Sunshine Committee, for serving on the Intervention and Referral Services Committee since its inception, and for all those speech therapy screenings of every kindergartner who joined us since Cedar Hill became a K-5 school. As you begin your retirement, we want you to know that we're very aware of the compassionate way in which you worked with your students with speech difficulties and the excellent results you were able to achieve with so many of them over the years. May the memories of those girls and boys growing in language, ending their stammering, speaking with confidence, and exiting the program bring you the peace and fulfillment you so richly deserve. Congratulations on 37 very meaningful, productive, and admirable years as a speech teacher and speech therapist. Karen, all the best always from all of us. Congratulations.
Thank you, everyone, and congratulations to all of our retirees, especially those that were able to be here with us tonight and their families. It's a wonderful time. Okay, at this stage, we are going to move on to a board presentation from our Director of Curriculum and Instruction, Dr. Brian Heineman. So it'll take us just a second to set up. Thank you for your patience.
Good evening, everybody. Just hold the mic down here. I'm going to do my very best to just keep it exactly here and not move it around as I walk. Picking up a signal, I'm sorry. Doing any of this. We had a lot of positives tonight, and I hope to continue that, talking about the Gifted Talent program here in Burns Township. The point of this presentation is really to make a recommendation on how to improve the program going forward in the future. But to get there, there's a little bit of a story to tell. So bear with me for 44 PowerPoint slides, but I assure you at some point in the latter part I'll get to a recommendation. Enjoy. So starting off, looking at the requirements for the state of New Jersey, three things stick out as what's required for a school district in Gifted Talent. I distilled them down there for you. We have to have a board-approved K-12 program. We compare our students to peers within the district. And we have to have some means, using multiple measures, to identify the students who belong in that program. So when you read that, the first thing that should stick out to you is, well, that's pretty vague. It doesn't really give you a lot of idea as to what exactly takes place in that program, what really the kids be doing in that program. And that's really intentional. The state really is kind of saying, you have to have a program. We're leaving it up to the local districts to decide exactly what they want that program to be. So that's really good news, because it does let us decide as a local district how we want this program to look K-12. So let's talk a little bit about where we've been and where we are now. When I first arrived in the district about 11 years ago, we had something called the school-wide enrichment model, or SEM. That was made famous by Joseph Renzulli, a famous researcher, gifted accountant. And that SEM model had 4 teachers who worked one in each elementary school throughout the district. Over the past several years, or past 10 years, that was brought down to 2 teachers and down to 0 teachers. And we had a little bit of a gap there where the program was kind of in flux, exactly what we wanted to run in the district. It was a time of difficult budgetary situations all across the country. And as we cleared through that, we once again decided we really need to bolster our G&T program. So, lo and behold, last summer, we started to build a math enrichment program. So some of you may be familiar with that. Now, the math enrichment program had a lot of nice features, but the reality was, it's enrichment, not acceleration. So when we talk a little bit about what a gifted program looks like, we'll talk a little bit about how acceleration and enrichment go together to make a solid program. What else do we have in the district? You say, well, it's got to be K-12. What other things do we have? If you walk up through the grades, you realize, which stood out to me, that in grade 7 we do have a really accelerated curriculum. In our grade 7 algebra program, that cohort moves to a grade 8 geometry program. And then we also have an honors and AP program at the high school, which everyone's very familiar. So as I researched this, another thing stood out to me, and that was, what does it mean to be gifted? And I asked myself that question, so I was starting to do some research into how we're going to build the G&T program in the district, what are we going to try to do in the future, and the first thing we really have to ask is, well, how are we going to define giftedness? What does that mean to be a gifted student? And I chose 3 things, and I won't read them out to you. The first one's from the New Jersey Department of Education, the second one's a quote from Joseph Renzulli from the book, and the last one's from the National Association of Gifted Children. So if you look at it, the thing that might stand out is Twp BOE, kind of vague, almost what you might expect from the state, kind of generic, sticks to the law of what we know G&T program should be. The middle program is written for the middle quotes from Renzulli, and it's a bit all-encompassing, also a little bit vague. And my favorite one, I think, is the last one. Look at what it says. Gifted individuals are those who demonstrate outstanding levels of aptitude or competence in one or more domains. The domains include any structured area of activity, with its own symbol system and or set of sensory motor skills. So that really encompasses all the different things we think of as gifted. Because in your head, you probably think of, well, I know giftedness in art. We've seen tonight, right? Giftedness in speaking, giftedness in music, giftedness in athletics. All those things are possible. We really proved that tonight. So I think the NAGC quote really hits the mark for what is gifted. So when I set out to do this, I set a goal for myself. And that was to create a robust, articulated K-12 program that really met the needs of the gifted students, but also all the students in the district. So not just to set out to say, we're going to have a gifted program, and it doesn't matter how it affects all the other students. So how can we find this? That was what I set out to do. And I posed 5 questions. So you'll see the slide again at the end. Hopefully you'll decide that I didn't need to answer those questions. Now, one of the things we always do when we set out to evaluate a program in this district is look at comparative districts. I have to thank Pat Breland, who's a teacher at Mount Prospect School, who really assisted in getting all this information. And looking at 7 comparison school districts, comparative school districts. So there you see Chatham, Hillsborough, Homedale, Livingston, Millburn, Montgomery, and West Windsor, Plainsboro. And what we did is look at what do they offer. Because if they have something that's really interesting, it would really serve us well to say, well, how are they doing? How's that program run? And what we found out is, really, everybody's all over the place. There is quite a variety of different talented programs throughout our comparative schools and really throughout the state of New Jersey. It shouldn't surprise you because New Jersey really says, do what you like. Have a gifted program, do a little bit whatever you want to do. So we see that we have everything from spelling bees to family math and science fairs to book reviews and author studies. So really a wide range. And those of you that have been in the district for a while might see this looks a little bit like the school-wide enrichment model we had years ago, right? We have a variety of activities at all different levels. What are the entrance criteria? Right? Another one of the things we must have. How do students get into the gifted program? And across, once again, we see a variety of things. We see a lot of open to all there, right? A lot of these say open to all. Another very common thing with the school-wide enrichment model. You see some NJS, you see InView, which is simply for cognitive test scores. So once again, a wide variety of ways to get in. No one school or method really stood out as, oh, that's really a best practice or something that everyone's using. It's really kind of all over the place. And last, who delivers the instruction? We know there's many different models. Let's look at it a little bit. You see there's quite a few schools do offer enrichment teachers. It's fairly common. But also, just as common really is a classroom teacher with or without support, or using something called differentiated instruction, which you may have heard of. I also personally took a peek at Bridgewater Raritan, but they do offer a unique program called the Academically Independent Program. That program does have students bused to one school. It's a pretty complex program, and once again, we look at these things because we want to see if there's something positive we can take from it. If there's something that they do that we can use that would be positive for us. So we looked at them as well. Another thing we do with the program evaluation is do a staff survey. So we looked at compared to schools. Now we look internally because we did have a program we rolled out last summer. We wanted to see how did the teachers feel the program was performing. Was it successful? How did the students feel about the program? Were they getting parental feedback about the program? So we conducted a survey. It was an anonymous survey, and we usually do it that way so teachers can feel free to answer truly how they feel. Now, when you look at this, you can certainly look at the numbers. You're welcome to look at the exact numbers. But I would encourage you, just kind of make it blur a little bit and draw a normal curve around that, or just a curve around that. And you'll see, although generally you get neutral responses, most of these lean a little bit to the one side, and that's the negative side. Okay, so we have generally neutral responses tilted a little bit to the negative. 1 being a very negative response and 5 being a very positive response. This question was, to what degree does the mathematical binder provide the proper amount of challenge? To what degree do the students enjoy it? Once again, draw that curve and see if it's to the left. What's the feedback from students? Okay, asking students. Feedback from parents. Overwhelmingly neutral, but still a little bit to the negative side. And how much additional kind of work was required from even generally neutral, that the findings seem to be not requiring a lot of extra work from the teachers to perform. Now, that was good data, nothing overwhelming. We thought anecdotally that the program was kind of a lukewarm response. We wanted to improve it, which is really why I'm here tonight, because we were getting this type of response anecdotally, and it did pan out in the survey. But I thought more importantly was having the teachers be given the opportunity to just write about what they felt was happening with the program, or what they needed to make the program successful. So, some suggestions for improvement. I won't read them all to you, but you can see that the teachers felt like they need more resources, they need assistance, and from the direct quotes, they want to make the program work, right? There's definitely an overwhelming response from the K-5 teachers. They want the program to be successful, and they're trying to make that happen. What additional enrichment was provided by the teachers? So once again, when you read through these, you'll see they were going out of the way to find activities, find more things for the students to do, okay, beyond the binder sheet. So that goes to show you that they desire to create more resources. And the last one is, what support do you need? And you can read through those. And I've read through many more. I tried to pick out a selection. I don't want to make you believe these are an all-inclusive list of all the feedback from the staff. But I tried to pick out things that repeated, okay, in the responses. And what I saw was really 3 things. They needed additional assistance, another body, a person assisting them. They needed some sort of technology solution, and they needed some model of grouping to help them better organize the students in the classroom. So when I saw that, that really stood out to me and served kind of as a touchstone. I was looking at programs that might serve to improve G&T in our district. So what does the research tell us in general about gifted students? Okay? These are some resources to be posted on the district website at some point, in the Board of Ed section. These resources were basic post these because everything I'm about to follow with comes from these resources here. Okay? So quite a bit to follow. What are the learning needs of gifted students? When you go through the research, you see a lot of repetition. You see things that pop up over and over again. Here are some of those. But the third bullet is the one that I think is most critical. Okay, that's the one that I see pop up that I think schools don't always hit the mark on, and that is you really need to combine program of acceleration along with enrichment. Okay, so these programs work best when they overlap, not one or the other, but both. Most of those should be no surprise if you're familiar with gifted education. This is one of the slides that you probably, if you looked into gifted education, I assume you're tonight, sticking through the presentation, you're interested in gifted education, you may have seen some of these things. They're not all true for every student, right? But these are predominantly things you find in students who fall under the category of giftedness in K-12 programs. Very curious, they process information with great speed or differently than their peers, they're sensitive, they tend to work alone, they have different senses of humor sometimes than their peers. So all these things are kind of personalities or behaviors you see more in gifted students. And the most important thing for an academic program in a K-12 district is how do you make this work in a heterogeneous classroom? Now, a heterogeneous classroom is just what you imagine here at middle school. Everyone in the class is evenly mixed, okay? So you have, say, 26 students. You might have a student that is operating 2 grade levels above, and in the same class, you might have a student operating 2 grade levels below, and they're all in that room sitting in front of the teacher, and they need to conduct that lesson, accounting for that really vast difference, okay? So that's a problem. And when you think about it, it becomes really, really obvious when you think for a second. I'm a teacher, right? And if I have these students, use my students in front of me, and I have students down this end of the room, okay, that might be struggling, and I have students over here, this is completely random, by the way, that are doing very well, and I'm the teacher, and I'm conducting a lesson. I need to devote my time, right, somewhere in the room. These students have nothing but A's on all their tests, quizzes, and everything else. These students down here are struggling every day. Which way do I walk through the system? Pretty obvious, right? I think it's pretty clear. I go down and help them, okay? Because they're struggling. They're doing fine, right? And that's really kind of the trap almost of gifted education. They're struggling. We want to go assist them because they need help. It's kind of human nature, isn't it? That you want these kids to do well. You don't want them to struggle. They're doing fine. But the reality is they need assistance too, just in a different way that we're not used to. And that really is their trouble because I'm still only one teacher in the classroom, right? And I can only do so much. Trying to ask me to go down here two grade levels below, 2 grade levels above is really stretching. We've done it for a long time, and many districts have. We're not alone. It's not some anomaly. Differentiated instruction is a wonderful idea. It truly is. But it's almost one of those things where it sounds so good, but in reality, unless you structure it really well and provide support, it is very, very difficult to pull off effectively and get students to go, get teachers to help students who are very far ahead and the students who are very far below. So the research bears that out. If you look at, research was done looked at, assignments handed out to all students, and they found the vast majority, 84%, do not take into account gifted students. They do not reach high. They go down, they're assisting students who are struggling, but they're not helping students who are working. So, what choices do we have? So, before you maybe get upset, I'm going to talk about all the possibilities, okay, just to show you what's out there. Okay, these are all the things that are possible solutions for G&T, and you might find them in all different districts. So systems and models, I talked a little bit about the school-wide enrichment model, okay, with Frenzulli. There is the Purdue University 3-stage model. These are called plastic models. They've been around since the 70s. So that makes me a classic as well, that's okay. And there are new models as well. It's constantly being researched at all different universities. The next one there is something called the school-wide cluster grouping model. That's actually is a model similar to that also at Purdue University. There's a big group of research going on there with gifted programs. They all offer an array of solutions. So every program gives you a whole kind of smorgasbord. Here's all the things that can take place in gifted instruction. Most focus on just enrichment, right? And that's not necessarily what I was going for. I wanted something that would give us the possibility of enrichment and acceleration, because that stood out to me in the research as something that would be the most beneficial for all of our students. And they all have a very strong focus on individual learning, which is what we want to try to attack as a problem. So when we talk about enrichment, we talked a little bit about it. What about acceleration? How do you accelerate students through a curriculum? A couple different ways. One of the traditional ways is called compacting. And in compacting, what I do is, if you imagine this whole front row of seats right here, that's all the content I'm going to cover, and I say, well, you know this, and you know this, and you know this, and you know this. So I'm going to take these seats out, and I'm going to push them down. And now I have 4 spaces where I can insert more content. Now, typically, that more content is enriched content, not accelerated content, but the compacting model. The other model is called telescoping. So compacting is done in the classroom. So I can walk in, I'm in the classroom today, and I start doing the compacting lesson by pre-testing the students. Telescoping is done prior to the class beginning. Okay, it's done through a curriculum writing process. So I would take, for instance, 3 grade levels of content, and I would rewrite the curriculum to accomplish them more quickly in 2 years instead of 3 years. Okay, telescope. I kind of think of it as like a pirate would do, kind of the brass, lookout, as reaching out and grabbing more curriculum for the kids. Early admission is something that's pretty straightforward, right? You go into a grade before your age appropriate for that grade, early admission. And of course, we're very familiar with AP, Advanced Placement Courses, right? These are essentially college courses they're taking at the high school level, okay? So this is a form of acceleration that you have in the district. So types of grouping. So we have enrichment, we have acceleration, and now we have grouping. Another thing remember teachers did ask for, grouping the kids. So how do we do that? We can have something called flexible grouping. And flexible grouping is something that we kind of do already in some cases, but it's not formalized. The teacher might say, well, I'm teaching a class, you're teaching a class, hey, how about you send me some of your kids, I'll send you some of mine, you'll teach this lesson, I'll teach you some lesson, and then we'll switch. Okay? And they just do it uniformly based upon the needs of the kids and the type of lesson, and it's something that the teachers just do flexibly. It's a nice thing to be able to do. The next part is called cluster grouping. Cluster grouping is different, because once again, this is like what I talked about before, where it's done prior to being in the classroom, as opposed to be flexible just in the classroom setting. In cluster grouping, what we do is we would take, if this is all the student body in this room, we would categorize all of you into a group, and then we would carefully make classes the next year based upon the population of students we knew we had. Okay, with an eye to reduce that spread I talked about earlier, something more manageable for teachers. Okay, so that would be a cluster grouping model. And there's also something called tracking. That's kind of been a dirty word in education for a long time, where students are in a room with their peers, and they stay with those peers for a long time. And in general, students who were in gifted programs, people say, oh, that's not so bad, they're with the gifted peers all day. But for students who struggled, right now they're in a room with their struggling peers all day, never really seeing a model for what they're supposed to be doing to be successful, because they're only seeing other struggling kids around. So it really does kind of have a bad reputation for a relatively good reason. So once again, one of the types of giftedness, and I touched on this before, but I think you'll all agree that people can be gifted in any of these things. And actually, research-based, actually, leadership is one of the newer ones that they're looking at is, what does that look like at a young age? What do gifted leaders look like when they're in K-5? So it's another interesting piece of research being done. In our district, what we've looked at really is mathematics, right? We do have an enrichment program in mathematics. We have a 7th grade program we spoke about. So that stood out to me. And what really stood out to me was, we have this program in grade 7. So in grade 7, we have a cohort of kids that go into algebra. We know that the common course is algebra in 9th grade, right? And it's advanced if you take it in 8th grade. So we have a cohort of kids taking it in 7th grade, really 2 steps away from where the common course is. And it's appropriate for a population of students. But where do they come from? Because in grade 6, we're going to have a junior secret class, right? They're all together with their peers. So what's really leading them into grade 7? So what stood out to me was, well, if we want to attack this problem, that was really a good place to attack it. Because we had a K-5 math enrichment program. If we could work on that, lead the kids into grade 7 and get better results, that would be really moving to our gifted and talented program. So what are the possibilities? Here they all are. Like I said, these are just options. I'll tell you the plan in 1 second. Here are the many things you can do. And you'll find these as you look through schools all throughout the state, all throughout the country. They attack the problem of gifted and talented education in many, many different ways. But there's some good news. The good news is there's many different models. Okay? All those models have a benefit. So if you use a Rensuli model, there's a benefit. You want to use a Purdue model, there's a benefit. You want to use a cluster grouping model, there's a benefit. All of them show positive benefits when they're implemented using the research model. So the real trick is finding out what the problem is in the district you're trying to solve and coming up with a plan to solve that problem using one of these models, because they're all effective. The other negative part is none of them are perfectly effective for every kid, right? Because if you're looking at math, language arts enrichment, how do you help the student who is a gifted artist or a gifted musician or a gifted leader? Okay? Generally, we find that those things have fallen under extracurricular activities in many districts, and that's probably where they will remain, unfortunately, due to monetary constraints in most districts. So, now we've come to the path. Here's going to be the details of my recommendation for gifted and talented in this district. And it involves something called cluster group. So I want you to pay attention to this. This is kind of a special section here. Okay, it's for all students, so I'll give you a second to read that. You take a drink. So that's the definition of the model. That's how it works. Now, I'll go through it with you. There's some caveats here, right? We must have flexible grouping. So we're going to have cluster grouping, which I said is done prior to the classroom situation starting. Flexible grouping, once we're now in our classroom, then some other things like differentiating the curriculum, continuous progress through it, intellectual peer interaction, so that's interacting with their gifted peers, continuity from grade to grade, which is what I thought the problem was with grade 7, where's the continuity leading us to grade 7, and having teachers with specialized training in different